it. I just hope that there's at least one person out there who will download this information and make good use of it and put this puzzle together and figure out what the hell's happening to our country and our whole entire planet, because something very weird's going on. I need to move on to the next stuff. And like I said, it's going to be a long ass series, I bet, because my account was downgraded. I can only do 15-minute increments, and I don't even care. I don't care if nobody listens. I just hope there's one person. I just hope there's one person who makes good use of this. I'm doing this for people that I think are probably having these experiences as well. If they did it to me, they're sure as hell going to do it to you, because I was just a normal person. You know, don't fool yourself into thinking, oh, I must have gotten, tied up with the wrong people. I was working at Disneyland. And they did this crap to me when I was freaking 8 years old. Trust me, I didn't do anything to deserve this. If they did it to me, they'll do it to you. You're not exempt from this. I wasn't exempt. If anybody could be exempt, it is a fetus in utero. When they smashed my head in when I was still in the womb, you think I did something to deserve that? And you know what's really amazing? Not to just go way off track, but just really quick. Some of these people are some of these gang stalkers are so brainwashed. They actually believe that you're going through a hard time because of something you did in your past life. I'm not kidding you. It just freaking blows the mind. Like, they tell themselves that they're okay to gang stalk you because you must have done something in your past life. Unbelievable. I'm sorry. It really, really has gotten so out of control what is happening in our world right now. The whole world. And these people, these gang stalkers, are the ones that are going to be the new world order. I feel friggin' sorry for the friggin' world, man. That people like that are going to be running things. People who don't even believe in... People that just do what they're told without even thinking about it. People that would hurt an infant just because somebody told them that they did something in their past life. And I know that, like, intelligent people out there would say, oh, that can't be true. Oh, yes, it is true. There are people out there who will do evil things just because they believe that you're a demon. You like incarnated spiritually into this world, but you're really a demon, or you did something horrible in your past life, and they believe that just because somebody told them. And they will do horrific, evil things simply because somebody tells them a bunch of bull crap. It's freaking horrible. It's just unbelievable. And I'm gonna move on. But these people they're just unbelievable. Moving on. So I end up going back to Alaska. And trying to I skipped something. The guy that told me about the fake skin, that guy. When I went homeless in this other town that I was living in, after these events, I was living in another town because I moved because weird stuff was happening there. Weird stuff kept following me everywhere I went, so I moved. And when I went homeless, I remember I went and I used a payphone because this was before cell phones. And I went and I used a payphone to call my mother. And I called collect because I didn't have any money. And I went to make a collect call, so I pressed 0 to call the operator. And that guy, and I won't tell you his name, but he came on the line and said, and he said his name, which was his name in that other town I lived in. And it was his voice. I knew it was his voice. And he was like, this is so-and-so. How can I help you? And he tried to have a conversation with me. He tried to he tried to make small talk with me and I was just like, no, I want to talk to my mom. I'm trying to make a collect phone call to my mother. And I was so freaked out. So they were tracking me. They knew everywhere I was going. They knew I was going to use the payphone. And for some reason he wanted me to know. I thought he was an angel. Because another thing that he had said to me was, I know it sounds freaking stupid, but I did. I'm just telling you the truth. I thought he was an angel. And this other when I was oh yeah, I remember what I was going to say. He also told me that his job in the former town that I was in, his job was to escort the daughter of a 33rd degree Mason to back home. And he told me, he was like, that's why I'm in this town, because I'm here because I need to escort the daughter of a 33rd degree Mason back home. I don't know. I have no idea what that meant. I don't, because I don't know. But a couple of years later, I did go back to Alaska. I went back to Alaska. And the weird stuff just kept happening. It just kept happening in Alaska. And I mean, I can't even, like, there was this one guy that I met. Oh, I, like, ended up living in this apartment house thing. I don't know. It had like a shared kitchen. Oh my god, just a nightmare. And there was like this guy there, and he looked identical to James Redman, who is the author of the Celestine Prophecy. I had read all those books. And then I met this guy who looked identical to that author, and when I brought out the book, The Celestine Prophecy, I was like, have you ever read the book, The Celestine Prophecy? And he was like, yeah, I wrote it. And he was like, I mean, yeah, I read it. So, I'm not saying it was James Redman. What I'm saying is, he wanted me to believe that he was James Redman. I think that's the guy's name. I could be wrong. But he definitely wanted me to believe that, and he did look like that dude. I mean, I don't know. He did look like that guy, though. And I mean, I was looking at the picture of the author on the back cover of the book, and then I would look at him, and then I'd look at the picture, and it did look like him. But I don't think it was him. I don't know. He did look like him, and he did lead me to believe that it was him, but I just don't believe that, because I just don't. But that guy was saying stuff like, some really weird things happened with that, because one time when I was talking to that dude, this is gonna sound weird, you guys, and I was not on drugs. Okay, I was not drinking. I was not taking any kind of medication ever. In fact, most of my life, I've just have stayed away from any type of. I've stayed away from drugs and alcohol, and I've stayed away from fluoride. I've stayed away from a lot of that stuff, just because I was just extreme health nut, and I was told at a very young age, stay away from that stuff, and I did. And I ate organic, I mean, all that stuff for most of the years, and I just did not do drugs, I did not drink alcohol, I did not drink fluoride, I did not eat food that had pesticides, all that stuff, I just stayed away from it. So I was clear-headed, is my point. And I'm talking to this guy, and this guy who looked identical, or, well, he sort of looked like James Redman. He did look like James Redman. And, which I don't think is a coincidence, because I had been reading all those books, and so that was probably like, I think they have holographic technology or something. And so they chose that image. Maybe. I don't really know. But when I was talking to this guy, he starts describing things that made me wonder if he was describing the future, because he was talking about how all these people were living in semis, like the semi-trailers, and they were all stacked on top of each other, and he was describing things that I can't explain this to you, but I felt like he was describing the future to me. And as I was talking to him, this is going to sound weird. As I was talking to him, it sort of looked like he had an eye in the center of his forehead. I know that sounds weird, and I don't know. I only saw it for like a split second, I think. But, or maybe it might have been more longer than that. It might have been a few minutes. But it wasn't like it wasn't like it was really there. It was like I saw it with my mind's eye, but more than that. I can't explain it. Anyway, he had it. I just thought that I saw a third eye, like he was a cyclops, like he had only one eye. Very weird. And then I got really scared of him, and I didn't want to be around him anymore. And he kept, like, coincidentally showing up places. It's weird. Anyway, let's just move on. There was some really weird stuff that happened around that time, too. And then I went, and I was, like, studying physics. And I was going to go, which everyone was so weirded out by. And that actually started right around the same time that I had the math dream and all this other stuff. I started studying physics shortly after that. And I remember that it was that one guy that I thought he was an angel. One of his friends, you guys are just not going to believe me. One of his friends suggested to me that I study physics, because he said that I had a natural interest in it, and I did, and I still do. And so I, at that point, decided I was going to study physics because I was going to college. And so I started taking math classes, and I was getting A's. And then I ended up eventually taking physics classes, and I would get like the highest score in the class. Like I remember on the midterm, the physics teacher, and that was a hard class for a female to take for this reason and this reason only, because its sexism is unbelievably rampant in those classes. And I could barely even stand staying in that class. Everything was a female organ to my professor. And even when I transferred to a well-known, like, good university as a physics major. Even when I transferred there, it was still like just constant sexism, and I could not bear it. It was so freaking horrible. But even aside from the fact that I was dealing with, like, just extreme sexism in the class, just every other word out of my professor's mouth was about a female body part, I got the highest score on the midterm, and my professor sent me an email. And there was only one other girl in the class, I think, for obvious reasons. I mean, nobody could stand listening to all that trash talking. And I mean, there was a guy that sat behind me that would literally, like, just talk about how stupid women were. Like, it was bad. It was bad, you guys. And then, I mean, it was so hard for me to stay, particularly in that one class. And it was a really, really big class. It was like an auditorium style class. And I think there was only one other female that stayed in the class throughout the whole time. But I remember my professor sent me an email telling me that I had gotten the highest score in the class. And then I went and talked to him about it later, and he was like, yeah, you got the highest score on the midterm. And I just thought that was really weird, because well, when I was growing up, like, my dad always said that girls couldn't do math, and but I just kept getting A's in math.